Materials for the Arts is to take things in and give them away to our members and our membership base. And our members, it's a free membership. And in order to be a member at Materials for the Arts, you could be a New York City public school teacher, or principal, assistant principal, or a not-for-profit arts organization, a social justice art org, or a social service organization, or a city agency. And when you're a member at Materials for the Arts, you can come in, you can shop on our shopping days. We have 2 shopping days a week, on Tuesday from 10 until about 4, and on Thursday from noon until 5. We're 35,000 square feet of warehouse space filled with items that have been donated to us from industry, businesses, museums, galleries, individuals all over the city. You're seeing our warehouse there. Those are some mannequins. We're getting some new ones in from the Met on Wednesday. We get tons of frames. We get lots of furniture. So, we're here to support the cultural landscape in New York City. And for those organizations that don't necessarily have a budget for materials, this is a great resource. We support schools like, local schools like the Baccalaureate School for Global Education and Frank Sinatra School of the Arts, in addition to many, many public schools. So if you can see, we collected over 6 million pounds of materials with a value of almost $25 million in 2024. We have almost 5,000 members, and we've been doing a lot of work with the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment to keep some of the incredible items that come off of a movie and film and television shoot, also Broadway and off-Broadway. And so we have these shopping events on site at their location, whether it is like Hulu's prop warehouse or a HBO studio, and we invite our membership base to come there to take as much as they need and want. And we donate this furniture. It's a lot of furniture, beautiful props, wardrobe, and all of those items go to New Yorkers in need. You're doing such a great job with the slideshow, I have to tell you. Thank you so much. So our education through Friends of Materials for the Arts, which is Materials for the Arts' not-for-profit partner for since 2002, we have what we call an education center. And while the core mission of Materials for the Arts is to take things and give them in and give them away, the education and the not-for-profit organization Friends of focuses on educating people around creative reuse. So our membership base understands how to use the materials. We have 6 weeks of free for teachers. It's scholarship based. Professional development workshops, so New York City public school teachers can learn how to actually use the materials that they find at Materials for the Arts. Because we find if you're a teacher and you take our workshop, you have a better understanding of what's in the warehouse and how to, how to approach creative reuse. Which, if you've ever been to Materials for the Arts, sometimes you walk in the door and you're not necessarily going to find paint and paint brushes and canvases and charcoal pencils, although we do have a lot of that. We basically teach people how to use the other materials that come into us. There's Joy Suarez and Louis Miranda. These are our master teaching artists. Louis is a musician. He does a lot of musical instrument making with the materials that we receive. Through our Third Thursday programming, we offer this is free to everyone. So every third Thursday of the month, unless it's February 10th, and it's tonight. And tonight we're having our sketch night, which would have been on a Thursday, but Machine Dazzle, who is the artist that curates the looks, wasn't free on Thursday. So we needed to work with Machine's schedule. We do the sketch night quarterly. It was started, as an event for Machine's closing, as he was an artist in residence and he had an event here. And so many people loved the event that we decided to bring it back quarterly. So now I think we're in our 3rd year. So we have RSVPs for about 140 people tonight to come and, we provide all of the materials. So there's sketchbooks, um, everything from markers, crayons, pastels, collage materials, and folks get to sketch with live models that are nightlife personalities, whether they're burlesque or dancers. It's a beautiful evening, very well, like the costumes are incredible. Also, for our third Thursday programming, it changes every Thursday, every month. So, we might have one month we might have Patricia Marks and Roz Chast doing a book reading and they playing ukulele, or it might be an artist opening. In March, we're having an opening for our artist in residence, Mary Mattingly. So it's a nice community building event because it's all free. We have snacks, we get a decent amount of people that come in that just want to experience arts and culture and be around other people that are interested in community. You're looking at a gallery exhibition from an artist named Magda Love. This came down just very recently. It was a tremendous tapestry mural that was basically the Garden of Eden recreated in textile waste. So everything you see here was textiles donated to Materials for the Arts. Our gallery is sort of a gateway to the warehouse, and it's a way for anyone walking through our doors to understand what the potential is when they come in the warehouse and they interact with these materials. This is a snapshot of our artist in residence and designer in residence program. The gentleman on my left is David Baptiste. He was our designer in residence. As soon as he left here, he took the work that he made here and he had a few fashion shows. He just got a $100,000 CFDA award. That's a Council of Fashion Designers of America, which is a huge honor for a young fashion designer. And so he had an opening event here. He's given an artist talk. These are two other wonderful artists that are in our community. We also have programming for students. If anyone here has family, friends that are teachers, New York City Public School teachers, we created a repair program so that teenagers who through schools, like we are currently working with City As School, and City As has an alternative education program that is not for that kid who can sit in a seat for 8 hours a day, but more for someone who might have some, academic challenges that might require them to have things in their hands so they can do hands-on working, thinking and learning. So City As School uses New York City as a laboratory. And at Materials for the Arts, we've created a repair program that is funded by Hermes, and they learn how to repair anything from textile repair, bicycle repair, furniture reupholstering. They do woodworking, and it's really to help our young people leave high school with some skills. And if they're not necessarily fast track for college, they have an opportunity to have a solid career using their hands in the trades. More repair program. So our volunteer program, is open we accept all types of volunteers here. We have corporate volunteers. We have a very wonderful standing date with Bloomberg volunteers every Wednesday. So through CSR programs all around the city, we have so many different corporate groups that come in. We also work with schools, students that have community and service requirements, not-for-profit organizations like Fountain House and other groups that come in to volunteer. There it is, the logo. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you for letting me present to you. Hi, Kenny.
Hi. Just a quick comment. It was, I've been aware of Material for the Arts for really since your inception, and I was not aware of all the additional programs, so it was kind of very gratifying and interesting to hear about them.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Appreciate that. And if anyone ever, we're open to the public, but if CB2 is interested in a tour of the warehouse, we're always, I'd love to give anyone a tour if they're interested in it.
Yeah, I was thinking, can you guys hear me okay? Because I'm in a cafe. I was thinking maybe some of our members can maybe we can plan a time if we can all find it in our schedules to make it to a third Thursday, or maybe take turns going to different third Thursdays, just so we're more connected to this amazing resource in our backyard. Um, no, but this is great. I did only because this came up with a nonprofit that I spoke to recently. Is there, in addition to your artist in residence programs, is there such a thing for like shared workspace there, or even like for costume making or things like that? Or is
The,
that just specifically for whoever's in residence?
it's for whoever's in residence, and now that we have this repair program, we have a space earmarked for the students that come twice a week. We're running out of space. So
Yeah.
it's kind of an issue for us, and I think with a new administration, that's we're looking for expansion of some kind, or like if anyone is a genius with learning how, or a genius that could help us figure out how to utilize our space better. I think what I need is an architecture and residence program that can help us with the warehouse and
Ooh.
utilize it to the best of, like, there's so much space out there, but we only use what is in front of us. And I feel like there's a lot of potential, but I'm not an architect.
Oh, you know what? We can definitely make note of that and see who we can connect you to, because I think we do know some architects and some architectural programs, especially through our folks on land use committee.
I
Um,
love that. And ideally, it would be great to have a class that came here and like maybe did a study on materials for the arts, and all of the students
ooh,
could have a project of redesigning it. And then maybe we follow through with one of the designs.
love that. Yeah. Pratt Institute comes to mind. I don't know if that's applicable, just because they've recently come on my radar. But yeah, we can definitely talk about this at committee and follow up with you on ways to connect you with that. That's a great idea.
Wonderful. Thank you
Um,
so much.
yeah. If you were to ask the city to physically expand your space, what does that look like? Is there opportunity to expand within that current building footprint, or are you looking for another location to add?
I think that it would be, I think for us to stay in the building and take more space in the building seems like the best, like the most
Yeah.
financially sound decision. I think when you have another location that requires like more staff, more trucking, more of everything, whereas if we took more space in, we're right here, and there is space in the building, although it's not a city-owned building.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. So does the city subsidize your rental cost for that
Yes.
space?
We are the Department of Cultural Affairs.
Got it.
Like
Yep.
if there are the programs unit, the CIG, we're just one of the 5 programs at DCLA.
Great.
Not everyone knows that. And it's funny that I could even be talking to someone at EDC and they don't know that we are, like, in fact, a city agency.
Amazing. Yeah, go ahead, Kenny.
I'm just curious if that's the only space you have, if there's additional storage anywhere, because what occurs to me, my experience is that there's a lot of the usable space that actually is sort of somewhat like storage there. Is
No, no, we don't have any additional space here, and we don't have any storage, though I think that there are definitely some empty units in this building, like from the pandemic.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but I
Because there's
know
some,
that,
I guess what I'm saying is there's some items there that you could probably show virtually rather than actually having them physically there.
well,
Last time
that's,
I
I'm
was there,
glad you mentioned that, because we have a program called direct donations where, like, for example, right now we have a huge furniture donation, 200 monitors, how many desks, and instead of the carbon footprint being that the trucks come here and there, we do a walkthrough with whether it's city agencies or arts organizations or schools. And then when they decide that they want the item, they can go pick them up themselves. And then we also have a direct donation platform, which is like almost like like a Facebook marketplace. I
Mhm.
hate to use the word Facebook, but you know, where somebody might have a kiln. Kenny, you might have a kiln and you might want to but you don't want to pick it up and put it in your car and bring it here, where we'll just like post it and a school might say, we have a ceramics program, we want that, and then we match the donor with the recipient.
That's great.
Yeah, it's so and like
We lost you for a minute.
anything that's like on the inventory, you know, my organization is a member, and so we're always like fishing through like what could be applicable to our artists that we serve. I will say something that we hear is, I mean, I know there's only so much we can do about it, but the onloading and offloading in the bays, and the difficulty of parking and like getting to and from, because people want to go there, but then they have a problem with like, how do we lug all the stuff that they all just acquired? Wondering if there's anything being talked about within DCLA about maybe somehow figuring out, I don't know, like a transport service or a shuttle. I don't know, but I know that's been something that our individual artists have been struggling with, and they want to take advantage of the shopping, but then have trouble figuring out how to get it out of there.
I think, you know, I don't know that it's top of mind for DCLA when we're like such a short staff and we can use more help. And I think and I understand the parking is it's pretty awful around here. It's very hard to find parking, but there are parking lots. And I hate to say this, but for $15 or $20 and you're leaving with a full car of items, it's a very small price to pay to be able to shop for free at Materials for the Arts. And people don't like take that easily when they say there's no parking. We're like, there's a lot or two or three. And if you just like, you know, teachers can get reimbursed from their, you know, schools. A lot of teachers come. We started late night shopping for teachers on the first Thursday of every month to solve at least one issue of teachers not being able to get here during the school day. Although some schools have no problem coming, but some schools are short-staffed. It's really hard for them. And I understand the artists and, you know, I feel like yeah, that has never been asked of me to make it a priority, like for transportation for people to bring things to their studios. I think it's maybe they're just stuck on everyone's getting all this stuff for free and not thinking that they have to find a way for people to transport it. But it's good to know that that's an issue. And I will always like take that up with DCLA as I'm also fighting for more space and staff.
Yeah, we're always trying to troubleshoot it on the ground too, because some of the artists that do come to MFTA are not from the area, or they don't have vehicles, so then they're subject to having to spend on Ubers, or limited to what they can take back on the subways and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, just wanted to, in case that we can collectively come up with some sort of solution. But yeah, I know.
I think if an organization had a few artists shopping at the same time, and if they pool their resources, maybe it would be easier for an organization to support those artists. I don't know. It's definitely, you know, I see on social media because I read the social media comments of when, you know, people get upset of certain things, like they want more access or, you know, but yeah, it's definitely Northern Boulevard is challenging. And
Yeah,
with the bike lanes, and then the MTA is in this building now, and they took over 2 of the 3 loading docks, like the bays. So
yeah,
now we're only limited to 1 because the MTA has 2. So that really kind of hurt us because we couldn't, you know, serve as many people as quickly, like coming out of Materials for the Arts, as you know, you get off that elevator and everyone's sharing that one bay instead of us having like the second bay available to us. So yeah, it's, you know,
yeah. No, that's good to know. Because we also have our interactions with DCLA, and we can also bring that back on,
great.
on your behalf. Like we can advocate for that too.
Yes.
But thank you so much, and thanks for all you do. It's such a critical service. Yeah, Eric.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the question, Tara, if you mentioned that you have volunteers. Are there any particular needs that you might have in terms of like when you need volunteers for what kind of roles? You mentioned that staffing was something that you're needing more of. So I'm just wondering, in addition to kind of uplifting you as a resource, if there's anything that we can do to kind of uplift opportunities to volunteer where it might help you the most.
We our volunteers mostly work in the warehouse and help us with like merchandising, getting things, putting things on the shelves. I mean, that's where I think we typically need the most help when we get a huge shipment in on a Wednesday and we have shopping on a Thursday and we only have so much manpower. So when we have volunteer groups every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we make sure that we're fully stocked for shopping on Tuesday and Thursday. Otherwise, all this incredible stuff is sitting in the processing room and we don't have the manpower to put it out. And let's just say an organization comes shopping and they're looking for something and they don't see it, but that's because we just haven't been able to put it on the floor. I think the volunteers that we're looking for are really just warehouse helping just make everything ready for shopping the next day, which is like taking things out of boxes, putting rolls of fabric on shelves, putting like beads and bags and just filling the shelves so they're really stocked. But
Wonderful.
if you know of a volunteer that has some good skills, feel free to email me.
Awesome. Any other questions for Tara? All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing and spending your evening with us a little bit. You're welcome to stay. We're going to have some other committee updates, and there's some other CIGs in the room that also have some updates. So yeah, you're welcome to stay.
I would love to. We're having a sketch night tonight. We're expecting it
That's
in
right.
1 minute, like,
Okay.
100 people. So I'm going to jump off, but thank you so much for inviting me, and everyone's welcome for a visit. So yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon then. Have a great
Okay.
event.
You too. Well, have a good night. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
All right, wonderful. So there's a lot of updates that we have from some of our agenda items last month, and we've got some folks in the room that also wanted to announce some things. So who would like to start? Shall we start with maybe PS1 announcement?
Always happy to kick it off. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for coming.
I don't know that I have announcements. I think I have some small, I think last month we had a lot of big news around free admission launching, and I mentioned our neighbor night coming up. Now we're about 2 weeks away from our neighbor night. So I do want to share that out more officially here and just invite everyone to join us and to help spread the word. So it's next Saturday night, February 21st. It will be Lunar New Year themed. So we're celebrating our major exhibition of Ayoung Kim, the incredible Korean video installation artist. We have a lot of our local businesses here in Long Island City that are sort of pan-Asian coming to serve free food. We have the Greats of Craft coming to serve free beer. We're going to be open late just for our neighbors at 6 to 9 p.m. We will have DJs from Record Room. So it's just going to be a fun late night kind of just for the community. And I really hope that everyone here will come around, join us, say hello, come meet the team here at PS1, come like meet me in person if I haven't had the chance to meet you before, and just like a really open invitation for any and all of our neighbors to come join us. So I'll put the link in the chat. It also has the RSVP link, again, totally free, but we would love to know about how many people are coming so we can make sure we get enough food. And we're just really excited about this one. And then a week later on February 28th, we are hosting a family day. So last year, you might remember that we did a 2-day family festival, really the first time we had this sort of opened up the museum just for families. We're doing now multiple times a year, we'll be doing family days. And our first one that we're hosting with MoMA is on Saturday, February 28th. And it will be sort of similar format where you sort of book a 2-hour time slot, but you can come and stay as long as you'd like. We'll have drop-in activities, about 6 or 7 workshops happening all across the museum. And of course, access to exhibitions in sort of family-friendly ways. So also come join us for that one. And then I also mentioned this last month, but I'll say it again. Greater New York is coming up. It's our signature exhibition series. Every 5 years, we highlight the work of largely emerging and under-recognized New York artists. We just today actually announced the artist list for this year's edition, and we're really excited to open that to the public on April 16th. I think that's everything, Carisha. Like, you remind me if there's anything else that you know about. But
This is so exciting. You know, you can count on community board rolling in deep to those parties. We love neighborhood night, and so glad it came back. Wonderful. Any questions for Molly at MoMA PS1? Okay. I do know that Nancy and Norma may also have some announcements regarding LIC Arts Open and things. You guys want to take the floor?
Hi, everyone. How are you? I'm sorry, my camera, I can't figure it out. For some reason, it's only working on Google Chat. So I'm sorry about that. How's everyone?
Great. Thank you so much for making it. And we see,
Yeah.
we hear you, Norma, and we see Nancy. So that with the two of you combined, we're great.
Oh, good. Yay. Okay. Yeah. We're sorry we're late. We were on another meeting and we tried to get off like 5 times and finally we're here. So we're happy to be at your meeting. We have an opening tomorrow, actually, it's called Ghost Town, and it's from 5 to 8. It should be a fun evening, and that's at the factory. And yes, so we do have all of the open calls for the LIC Arts Open are going to be coming out starting next week. So there will be open calls for performance, for any venue that wants to list their event during the festival and be on our map. And then there will be open calls for Queens-based curators that have proposals that they would love to do. And we're also going to add this year a poetry festival and a short film festival into the LIC Arts Open. So that will also come with an open call, and we're finalizing the curators for that, but we have some exciting people for those as well. And yeah, I think that's it. But the festival will run May 13th through the 17th this year. And I can add some links for that too.
Yes, please, if you don't mind dropping the links to that, as well as to your opening tomorrow and for the curatorial open calls. We can definitely help push those out.
Okay, great. Yeah. And Nancy, I think there will be also an open call from Brick House for the festival, correct?
Yes, Brick House last year had their artist showing. This year they're going for the open call for ceramic artist, which is neat.
How exciting. All right.
Yeah.
We should have them come. They need to be coming to our meetings as well. I'll have to keep pinging Brick House to come along. Well, thank you so much. Please drop those links in the chat so we can share them forward. Angel, how is the productions going at Salio Spanish?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Fine. We're preparing the world premiere of Tango Mania. It's a tango musical, and with the best musicians, singers, and dancers of tango, which are now in New York because of the crisis in Argentina. So all the best are now here at Thalia. Actually, this is our 36th season doing tango musical every year, which has always been very successful, in which we won the Latin Grammy and many awards as best musical, etc. So yeah, you're all invited. It will run the whole month of March, from March 5th to the 29th. And then in April, we will also have a production of flamenco with some guest artists coming from Spain, from Seville and Granada. And it's dedicated to Garcia Lorca because it's going to be the 19th anniversary of his death. And both productions at Thalia Spanish Theater are part of the festival that will be running from March 1st to April 30th of the Alliance of Teatros Latinos in New York. We are now 10 organizations with 11 theaters, 9 in Manhattan, 1 in the Bronx, and we are still the only Hispanic theater in Queens for the last 48 years now. So, well, you're all welcome. So come.
Thank you so much and congratulations. It's good to know that there's been a coalition of theaters that are uplifting that community and it's so important. So thank you so much. Our committee needs to divide and conquer. Like we need to go to all of these events. We need to figure out who can go to what because these are so amazing. Do you have a link that you can put in the chat for the show?
Yes, sure. Yeah.
Okay,
In
thank
our
you.
webpage, you can find all of it.
Okay,
I'll write it.
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who else do we have here? So I see Andre from Kukula. And then I also see Bari just joined from the LIC partnership. So let's start with Andre.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Was walking the pup. We got some stuff going on this weekend for Valentine's Day. We have our annual Valentine's Day workshop. We opened up some extra slots, so we usually have one slot, but we have expanded it to three due to popular demand. So we're gonna have basically it's a bring someone or meet someone is the theme. So you come down, dance a bit, wine and beer is included. There's a little mixer that's will be included with the ticket. And of course, our annual dance battle. So you're gonna have a showdown with your newly learned salsa moves that will be going on this Saturday. You can find us all the info on the website. Sign up to the web portal, and our annual social, sorry, not annual, monthly social is next week, the 21st. So it's gonna be a good time, good fun. Everyone is welcome.
Thank you so much, Andre. Bari from the partnership. Thanks for joining.
I'm so sorry. I was a little bit. Oh, sorry. So sorry. I was a little bit late. We had a program with some of our members, but I wanted to share that the LIC Lunar New Year celebration starts next Tuesday. So we have a lot of LIC cultural institutions participating, including Chinese Theater Works, Momo PS1 Culture Lab, and Museum of the Moving Image, along with dozens of restaurants and active lifestyle venues. So please share and spread the word and go visit our local businesses.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think I saw on the partnership's Instagram like all of the highlights of things that are coming. Lunar New Year is growing bigger and bigger in our district every year. So thank you for continuing to work with local arts and culture groups in our district. If Andre also, if you guys are able to type in the chat, just so we also have it for our records, that would be wonderful of the event links that you're talking about. And then I'd like to welcome and invite, I see an Alex here, I see a Lisa here. Welcome to committee. If you'd like to say anything or announce anything or introduce yourself. No pressure. You can also just listen in. Oh, hello.
Hi, first time to the meeting. I'm happy to be here. I'm a Long Island City artist and looking to be more connected. And I appreciate being a part of this community today. Thank you.
Oh, welcome, welcome. Oh, that also brings up that the community board applications are still open. Someone help me on the deadline. I believe it's next week. To apply to join community board, and you can also be a public member, or you can also just continue to come to any of the meetings and participate as a member of our community. Okay, so I know we have a lot of exciting committee updates that we needed to follow up on. So where shall we start? Did anyone attend the LIC walk and talk in the park thing that happens a couple weeks ago? Or the Power of Community Board meeting that was on Zoom? I forgot who hosted it. Yes, no, maybe so. Oh, Pia? Mm-hmm.
It was bagels. Something with bagels. Something with bagels.
Were you able to go, or did you hear anything about it?
Yes, you sent me the link and
Perfect.
I went, and it was really great. It was something bagels. And it just talked about the dynamics of being on a community board, what the commitments are. And it was with every like community board in all of New York City. And it was really great to hear from other board members in different boroughs.
Was there any like high level takeaways that struck you, especially in terms of like arts and culture activity and community boards?
No, it was just like an overall broad general about what community boards do, their commitments, if people are interested in joining.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad that that meeting exists out there, and maybe that's something we can also continue to model specifically for Queens arts and culture. Eric, did you have an update too?
I was there too. It was Beta Bagels. Yeah. And I signed up for their listserv because it looks like they do a lot of interesting kind of gatherings and stuff. So I look forward to kind of watching more of what they do. But the one thing that the takeaway that I appreciate was they had the district manager from the district in Brooklyn that includes Bushwick, where it is. But she talked about how they've been able to kind of use their website to kind of update information and access to things in a more kind of timely fashion. And it might be something that we can look to model in terms of when we find out about events, if it kind of takes a while for the minutes to get out, if we can find a way to communicate and share that stuff in a more prompt fashion. But there might be some examples we can learn from.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something we can interface with the tech committee too. Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm gonna drop this really quickly because I know this came across from the borough president's office. There is a call for artists for JFK Terminal 5. I'm just gonna drop that in the chat. So if you are interested, or please spread the word. It would be wonderful to have a Queens artist represented there. What else did I want to talk about? We also wanted to talk about our committee's budget priorities, right, Eric? Do you want to kind of lead us on your thoughts behind that? And thank you so much for bringing that up.
Just only that there is a small portion of the community board's budget that we have some discretion over how it might be used, and the treasurer of the board is looking for kind of suggestions from us on how we might use some of that funding. Again, it's not a lot, but we might have ideas. One of the things that jumped to my mind, Aj's not here tonight, but he was at one of our previous meetings. He kind of talked about things that we might do to promote the committee and encourage more folks to attend. And it made me wonder about kind of what's in our advertising budget. And if there's anything that we might use the advertising to kind of target different audiences for our committees. So with our committee, are there places that we could do more outreach that, maybe a little bit of investment might go a long way in terms of raising awareness and drawing some engagement, but there might be other ideas. So I just thought it'd be worthwhile to have this on the agenda.
Great thing to think about. And as we don't have to put everybody on the spot now, but let's definitely think about that, because I think our treasurer wants those suggestions in pretty soon. Did we have a deadline on that? Maybe by next full board meeting?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometime this month.
Okay. So if folks have any ideas, please feel free to email the office directly, or you can email Eric and I. Off the top of my head, I think this is also very related to engagement committee activity, because there's so many wonderful arts and cultural events that happen in our district. Potentially, maybe we can align, being at these different events as an arts and culture committee in terms of just like awareness. Thinking about MFTA, because they were just here. I wonder if we can help coordinate. I mean, what would need funding other than parking and like transportation? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, this is good to think about. I think there's definitely opportunity for us to, or maybe even like the printing of materials that specifically talks about our committee, something like that. But yeah, so okay, seeing in the chat any updates about Bliss Theater, our position of the cultural committee. So yeah, this came up at which you were at, Angel. This came up first at the land use committee. We don't have any updates since then because it was just a couple weeks ago. I know that that's a land use topic as of right now, because I think we have to figure out what exactly they're proposing. I think also land use is trying to figure out the reasoning behind their proposed rezoning suggestions. And then from there, thinking about, I'm not sure. I mean, if other committee members have also had an opinion about it, but we as a committee don't have like a formal stance on it yet because it's so new and a little bit, it's like a little bit of a moving project right now. Anybody else have any thoughts about the Bliss Theater project? Yes, I know.
Well, no, I mean, I think it'll be important to have a position from the Arts and Culture Committee about it, because, it is a very important theater in our community that is going to be demolished. So if it's going to be demolished, and at first when they wanted to build, to change the rezoning from 6A to 8A, going 13 floors, I mean, I'm absolutely opposed to it. I mean, not only because we cannot save the theater, but just to have a building of 13 stories high in our neighborhood is just going to be the continuation of Long Island City all the way to here. And once you have that rezoning for that building, for where the Bliss Theater site is, then it's going to be all around. The next block where the Wendy's is, that is even double the size of the Bliss Theater, then can be even higher and things like that. So I think it's very concerning. Plus, the fact that we are about to lose a very important theater that unfortunately we were not able to save it as a landmark. Although, as you know, for 2 years we've been after that doing all the paperwork, but still, if these developers are really greedy, as they are, because they already own 14 buildings in Long Island City, I mean, we had an opportunity, and I think we'll still have, even now it's demolished interiorly. I mean, not demolished so far. It's really raw. The way the whole building now is raw, because everything that was Egyptian and whatever, all that is gone. But still, it's structurally is a big theater that could still be a cultural center. So I don't think the fight is over. Mine is not. So I think it'll be important for the committee to really have a position about it, because even now, at first, when they were coming in the meeting, as you know, with these 13 floors in the going to R8, then as they were starting to talking to the city to see if that could be or not, then we were at that point they were still offering to build a 500-seat theater for the community, etc. Now, because of course they have told them they cannot go from 6A to 8A, from eight-story high maximum in our community to 13. Now they went into the 7A, but then the theater is gone. They're not going to do any theater at all. So then,
right,
if that's then what they are trying to do, then again, it's up to us and all the artists in Long Island City and Sunnyside and all our district to figure out if we are happy with that or not. And I'm not at all,
So the challenge, and thank you for bringing this up. The challenge is they own the property.
Yes.
And we can't necessarily, I think, and again, this is a land use more, this is more of a land use action. Like we as an arts and culture committee can speak more toward any type of cultural space that they are proposing or that we would be requesting as a committee. So it seems like it's going to be in a place of negotiation, because if the community is asking for some sort of arts and cultural investment in the form of a space, then that is going to mean ultimately the community will then be supporting a rezoning. If we can try and push them to do something with the space for arts and cultural use as of right, that's another fight. And I think, that's definitely something that we'll have to keep talking about in terms of what our sort of leveraging mechanisms are and what is also realistic in the powers that be, because the landmarking didn't go through. We do have the historic districts award on our side, and this also brings up the project that another person brought up at full board meeting about trying to restore the tiles artwork on the viaduct as like another renewed way of placemaking. And so that's also something we're trying to look at, and we should discuss this more as a committee also, so that it's a little bit more of a holistic approach of how to talk to this developer in terms of how we want that site honored. And that's, to date, we are still trying to make sure that the list of things that we wanted salvaged from when they gutted the interior does come back, because right now it's in a warehouse in Connecticut and we want it back in the neighborhood as part of whatever the next iteration of that site will be. And so we're still waiting to hear back on that. But I hear you, Angel, and we'll have to figure out what exactly is possible to ask for. Yeah, Eric.
Yeah, I was just going to add to what you said, Karija, particularly about the case that we might make. And you've mentioned the Historic Districts Council. I was going to share, I had a meeting with them last week to review kind of the results of our community outreach. And, there were a bunch of folks who did, submit nominations on behalf of the Bliss Theater. We have data that we can kind of show to the developer, we can show to our council member, we can show to others, that to begin to kind of continue to make the case that the community wants to see a cultural space, wants to see some sort of preservation that might involve, commemoration of the theater. So we're continuing to collect that data. So I think if we continue to talk about it in committee and kind of use these things and kind of use them to make the case for that, that might be our most productive route. And maybe that's what we do in this committee relative, as Karija was saying, land use has its own kind of purview, and that'll definitely come up in conversation. I know there was discussion about kind of, their previous kind of proposals, the developers' proposals, and, kind of some negative reactions to that. So I'm sure there'll be some hearty debate there about that. But here in this committee, we can continue to talk about kind of advocacy around preserving that arts and cultural space and some of the other things that we want to preserve as part of the neighborhood from a cultural standpoint.
Yeah, because in the last meeting, don't forget, they were saying they don't need any more. So if they just go in the rezoning from 6A to 7A, and they get that recommendation, they are not planning to do any cultural space at all there. That's gone. It was because they wanted to build to 13 floors that they were proposing to build that cultural space so they could get that that approval,
Right. Yeah, and they're not mandated to do any of this. That, like, we also have to remember that they didn't have to come to us at all. They could have just done whatever they wanted to do and never talked to us. So yeah, I think
so what? But that's, I mean, it's a cultural space for us. So it's our obligation to really defend and preserve it, So yeah, if no, they don't need a rezoning. They bought a space for 16 million point three to do in a 6A. Go. Then they don't need us at all. But
Right.
if they are planning to do something else, they could have done. Keep the 2 floors of the theater, save the theater, and have even affordable housing or not on top for 6 more floors and still have 8 floors, saving the theater. But they didn't want to do that. So,
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely going to be a continued discussion. I think also there's going to be a lot of intercommittee discussion because from again, this is more land use. So I don't want to put any more land use time on the arts and culture time. But land use at last month's meeting seemed to have a particular stance in terms of the housing that was going to be built. And then our committee should be talking about more like what the cultural spaces should be looking like. And so we're going to have to do a lot of committee coordinating in how we go forth with talking to them. I do believe that they are going to come to full board, which is a completely, all of these are open public meetings, but they do plan to come to full board in person, if not in March, then in April, to present all of this. So we're going to make sure that everybody hears about that and can also come and hear it directly and also submit testimony and do all of that stuff. So we'll have that opportunity. All right. So we are 2 minutes to the hour. Was there anything else that we wanted to cover in terms of updates for the Murals and Gates initiative, folks? And thank you to some of our committee members and also Jolly, our honorary Arts and Culture Committee member. Any updates on reaching out to folks or anything you're discovering? And this will be an ongoing project, so no worries if there's not a whole lot of updates on that.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I made a few updates in the spreadsheet and try to organize it in a way that makes sense. And yeah, there's someone on there that I did want to point out. She's at a laundromat and but speaks Mandarin primarily. And she said, come to meet me in person. So if there's someone who speaks Mandarin that maybe we could have, she seemed interested and curious. Just needed some more clarification on how it would go.
Okay, thank you for flagging that. Okay, and I'll look through. And if also anyone in committee is interested, we can also share this. We have basically a contact list that was populated with the help of Dirk from Sunnyside Shines that identified locations and their relevant business and property owners that we could talk to see if they would be interested in having a mural on their wall or on their gate. But we're starting with murals because there is a new roll down gate law of replacing a specific model of gate that may counteract the timeline of our process of wanting to paint them. There was something else that came to mind about this. Oh, I know we also wanted to talk about, and we can continue to talk about this at next month's committee, further down this process of once we've identified the sites, we wanted to also kind of figure out a process in which we put out, an RFP for local artists to actually create these murals in our neighborhood. I know there was also, and it was a great idea about like maybe getting some nonprofits involved who can help orchestrate community murals or teaching artists that know how to lead community built murals. So that is next up for discussion in coming committee meetings as we move that process along. Any questions or immediate comments or ideas on that? And also, this is something we don't necessarily have to internalize into committee. Okay, thank you, Angel. Have a great show. Thank you for taking the time. See you soon. If this is something that we feel that, Leica or a culture lab or, any other curators that we might know that could help us with this type of matchmaking or this type of administrating the process, you know, we can always reach out to our folks. Oh, okay, great. Yes. See, write this down. So yeah, once we sort of get to that point in the process, it would also be great to have you guys keep coming back to committee and sharing your experience and input on how these types of RFPs go and how our committee could, you know, be a support on that. So, and of course, obviously, you know, Momo PS1 has a lot of experience also in all the mural things. You know what? Actually, maybe then a budget item could be helping secure insurance for some of these projects, because that often tends to be a barrier for artists once they get the project, and then insurance becomes a huge challenge. But anyway. All right. You know, I did invite, and perhaps they can come next month. I did invite the executive director of the Museum of Urban Arts, which is a museum at the base of the old Five Points development. I actually met a resident at our CB2 meet and greet who told me about this museum in their building, which I never was really made aware of after the whole, you know, 5 Points thing happened. So she had actually responded and said that she was planning on coming tonight, but I don't see her here, so perhaps next time. And then I also noticed RO Gallery, which is in Sunnyside, or I'm sorry, is that in Sunnyside? There's RO Gallery, and there was also something called the LIC Museum, two small spaces. I don't know if anybody else has heard of them, but I just happened to see them when I was walking around the neighborhood. And so they are also on my radar to invite to future committees, just so we can meet them directly. Does anybody know RO Gallery or LIC Museum?
I've heard of RO Gallery. I've actually worked with them with my own gallery. They do auctions, and I believe it's a commercial gallery. But there's also 50 gallery.
Okay.
Altarwork has a gallery too. Altarworks.
Right. Yep. Altarworks.
Tina and
yes.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who's running RO Gallery right now. Like, I mean, the gallery manager, but that's, yeah. And I have the email for the 50 or whatever it's called gallery. I can send that to you.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, and yeah, we've been also letting all the entities know from the whole One LIC neighborhood plan footprint to come to committee and to apply to community board and all of that thing. So we can just continue that outreach. But all right, those are all the updates on my end. Yeah, let's all. Oh, wonderful! Thanks, Andre. Noche Flamenca. Okay. Well, they need to meet. They need to come meet us, and they probably should know Talia Spanish Theater too. Thank you for that. I should we save that? Yeah. So that's everything. That's everything on my end. I know we've got a lot of other updates to continue for next committee. So thank you all for being here.
Teresa, I was just going to provide an update on my meeting with the Historic Districts Council.
Yes, please. Yes.
So they have closed out the survey, and they got about a little over 24 suggestions, recommendations. As I mentioned a minute ago, several folks talked about the Bliss Theater, but I'll be really quick. But we agreed at the conclusion of our meeting to do two things. I asked them to group the recommendations kind of thematically, and also based on kind of from their perspective, what would be the most viable candidates for a preservation campaign. So based on their view, what would be, most viable for a request for evaluation by landmarks, or, to go through the process to apply to the National Register, that sort of thing. So they're going to make those recommendations to us. What I offered to do was share with this committee, and perhaps also with land use, the suggestions, and see if we have any perspective from the community board side about what we should prioritize. So they didn't get me the kind of the grouped list in time for today. I was just going to share that, in addition to the Bliss Theater, as I mentioned, there was one that related to Art Deco. So the Art Deco Society tour that you went on, Khadija, that group of spaces could be a potential candidate for kind of a landmarked district area, maybe. I don't know how much we would want to prioritize that given its proximity to Sunnyside Gardens. So it's already, next to a place that's already landmarked. But some other ideas include housing in the neighborhood. So Boulevard Gardens, Metropolitan Houses, the Matthews Flats on Gilman. Another related to some historic buildings like the Belova School that is now the Church of Latter-day Saints in Woodside. I had suggested the Walgreens on 43rd Avenue that used to be a Child's restaurant. Frampton from HTC told me that there's a few former Child's restaurants that have already been landmarked, so that might be a tough one for us. But there were a few houses of worship, and then community spaces. So at the full board meeting, someone had brought up the viaduct, as you mentioned, Khadija, but also Little Manila Park was suggested, and then the Arch. So there were a few places there. So we might look at them as kind of categories of things if there's anything that we would suggest prioritizing. So maybe there's a way I can distribute that list to the committee, and maybe land use can find some time just to talk about it for a few minutes. But so that was one update, and then the other was that the other thing that the HDC will help us with is putting together a guide and a map for us to do a cultural tour in the district. So we're going to meet with them again in about 2 or 3 weeks. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but the things that were nominated for this list might comprise a tour of cultural sites and spaces within the neighborhood. So I think the suggestions that came through this process, we'll be able to use them for a lot of different things. So more to come on that.
That's so exciting. Thank you so much for that update and for attending and keeping us abreast of all of those. Those sites are also like, I think it's definitely something that our committee can also become more familiar with, especially the ones that are in Woodside. And I now that you mentioned Little Manila Park, that nonprofit group, or I think that maybe they're just like a stewardship entity, they definitely have reached back out and they want to also come to committee at some point. And they're also doing some programming there. And because it's a state owned property, they've been having trouble getting approvals on installing artwork there. So I think that's also something that maybe our committee could look into, because when we're getting into state processes, the feedback that the state has given them was that they just don't really want to get involved. So there's no proper department or mechanism about like how to go about installing art on it's state DOT. It's not even state parks. So I'm actually going to make a note that maybe that's something our committee can look into. To maybe there's someone we can talk to. So let me make a note of that. But wonderful. Okay. All right. Anything else from anyone? This has been such a robust discussion. I really, really appreciate everyone. Okay. All right. Well then, do we ever make motions to adjourn? Should we do that now? Are we like that official now as a committee? Shall I make a motion and shall someone second me?
Second.
Okay. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much. Please, let's all go to everyone's events that was listed this evening. And yeah, hopefully see you all in the neighborhood really soon. And happy Lunar New Year.